It's like, oh, you're gonna love season 3.
Yeah, because here's going. Well, okay, that's yeah. We've got Picard and occasionally Riker and so forth. But gee,
Yeah. G, but G.
No, GTE.
Well, I told Clinton the episode should have been called G, New Enterprise.
Oh, spoilers! Spoilers.
Oh, we've all seen it.
Yeah, but we're broadcasting now, so
Oh, are we?
We haven't.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, G.
Alrighty, let's see. So
I'm going to share this video. Don't bother asking if I want to add any comments. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
That is funny. I see the Star Wars poster popping it through over my head.
you need more lights.
Well, the other day, Gary was asking me if he should go to the gym or watch The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Hello, Valencia.
I said, hey, look. What I tell you, that I was trying to be deep, but I was like, that's before coffee. In the morning.
So it still stuck with me. So I woke up at 4:30 this morning so I would to be able to watch the show and go to the gym.
Yeah. I told him, I said, hey, well, you're going to miss 100% of the workouts you don't do. So you regret. That was it.
You're my Sherpa. What can I say?
Oh,
right.
Does that sound more like a Yogi Berra one? You're going to miss all the ones you don't go to. You know,
that's right.
With Gary getting thinner and Ken getting a beard, I think we might have to rethink our Santa strategy for the parade.
I think Ken should ride on your shoulders. Yeah, well.
Actually, the beard doesn't come into it because he's wearing that basket on his head anyway.
His beard's like.
All right. So if you can't access the shows for any reason, Gary,
I got it.
Okay.
I was just stalling for time.
You know what's weird is, Clinton, when you said heading to StreamYard, you sent the message over Facebook Messenger, and I dozed off on the couch because I was watching Picard again, but I was like, I'm by myself. There's nobody else in the house. I was like, kind of dozed off, and I went, holy crap, what time is it? Did I miss it?
That's why I do that. That's why I do that.
Yeah, I was like, did I miss it? Wait, it's only 9:20. I'm okay, but yeah.
Oh, belated congratulations on 700, gentlemen. I'm catching up. I'm in just in late February. I'm at 702. Even Clinton was on the other day this morning.
Thank you, sir.
All righty. Are we about set to boogie oogie oogie?
Yes, we are.
Oogie oogie. Get on down.
All right. Then let's record in. Oh, let me unplug that. Just so we don't have any surprise audio.
Unplug the hat.
And the iPad was plugged into hardwire. That's where the music was coming from.
Technology nowadays, I shouldn't be questioning that. Unplug the hat.
Okay. And let us record in 3, 2, 1.
This is The Topic is Trek, episode 136 for Friday, April 21st, 2023. Coming up in this episode, all hail the Emperor. They have come to save us. Take that, Lord of the Rings. All that and more right now on The Topic is Trek. Swords are fun. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it sooner or later, because on this show, the topic is Trek. Engage already. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another thrill-packed episode of The Topic is Trek. I'm going to give you some fair warning. We've got some interesting things to talk about tonight, so we may be running a little long, so you might want to take this one in pieces. If you're watching it live, well, first of all, welcome. We usually record every other Thursday night at around 9:30 Eastern, and we try to put that out on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, I believe. So feel free to join us. All right.
And also
All
put on your tinfoil hats because we're going to talk about spoilers here tonight.
That's right. There will be spoilers. Well,
Spoiler alert.
like the alarm said, there will indeed be spoilers. And as we've already heard, I don't know how the voice got here before he did, because beaming in to join me from parts unknown is Mr. Craig Stepp.
Hello.
That's the Hypno catchphrase. Hello.
I'll be honest with you, I
It
forgot
is
to
like-
look up. I forgot to look one up. I'm sorry.
Nose diving
Hit a
there.
new low.
Yeah.
If you think of one in the middle of the show, just blurt it out.
Just shout it out.
We won't mind. And also is my other co-host, Mr. Craig Stepp. Mr. Craig Stepp, Mr. Chuck Tomasky. I'm thinking about Craig and his catchphrase.
It's like turnabout intruder. There's just two Craigs and nothing good can come of that.
Opposed to two Garys, but that's another story for another day. Okay.
May the force be with you.
Mm.
I
And
won't
how
go
are you
there.
doing, sir? That's you, Chuck. How are you
Oh,
doing?
me? Oh, okay. I thought you were going
Like
on
a
the
well-oiled
You said
machine
two
this
theories,
evening.
and I thought, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Now, can
All
we
right.
introduce Gary?
We can, because we have a. My goodness, already have control. How did I lose control so fast?
You lost control.
We
You were
have
there-
a special
here a
guest
minute
with
ago.
us.
Yeah.
Mr. Gary Lindros is joining us this evening. Say hello, Gary.
Hello, Gary. Hey,
Thank
guys.
you.
How's it going today? You know, I
Uh,
have to say, watching these shows, I think McCoy was onto something with those transporters.
Yeah, absolutely, he was.
Yeah.
And we will. That's a bit of a spoiler there. Well, yes, that is still a bit of a spoiler for what we're going to be talking about, but absolutely. So we're going to be talking about a few late breaking news stories, and then we're going to be talking about episodes 9 and 10 of Star Trek Picard. So if you haven't seen episodes 9 and 10 of Star Trek Picard, first of all, why not? And second, you might want to watch those and then come back and listen or watch the podcast.
We'll pause and wait here while you go do that.
Well, that's electronic. Well, not if we're live, we won't pause and wait for them to do that. That's 2 hours worth of. We will, if you're listening afterwards or watching afterwards, we will indeed pause for you.
It's way longer if you're like me and take lots of notes. Play 2 lines, pause, write something down.
Yeah. Right.
All right, but it's time to,
kinda do that too.
take a quick turn at Subspace Chatter. But in order to do that, we have to get everything cleared away with good old Charlie X. So, Charlie, are we ready to head into Subspace Chatter?
You don't need all that subspace chatter.
And thank you so much for your ringing endorsement.
Yeah. Stupid Charlie.
Chuck, you have the first story.
Alrighty. Paramount Plus has announced a Star Trek Section 31 project starring Michelle Yeoh as Emperor Philippa Georgiou. But it'll be an event film for the streaming service instead of a series.
Yeah.
The official logline for the movie is Emperor Philippa Georgiou joins a secret division of Starfleet tasked with protecting the United Federation of Planets and faces the sins of her past.
Ooh.
Section 31, of course, was introduced in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, has been featured in Enterprise, Discovery, Lower Decks, Picard, and Star Trek Into Darkness. A Section 31 series with Yeoh had been in various stages of development since way before the pandemic back in 2019.
Oh yeah.
The news comes out a month after Yeoh won an Academy Award for Best Actress for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Sounds like that's dealing with alternate universes and multi-dimensions as well.
All at once.
Making her the first Asian person to win the award. She also won at the SAG Awards, Independent Spirit Awards, and the Golden Globes. Star Trek Section 31 will be Paramount's first original Star Trek movie, Production is set to begin later this year. There were no other casting announcements and no release date was given. Craig Sweeney from Limitless and Medium will write the film, and Olatunde Osunsami, or something like that, from Discovery and The Man Who Fell to Earth will direct. I'm sure I'll learn to pronounce that by the time this film comes out.
Well, I hope so, because he's been directing Discovery for like 5 years now.
Yeah, right.
We've mentioned his name a bunch of times, but it is Olatunde I got because somebody else I know is named Olatunde. So that one was pretty easy for me. We have some late breaking news as well. This one comes from the Hollywood Reporter that apparently the plan is, although it's not confirmed, but the plan is apparently to have a Star Trek movie event every 2 years on Paramount Plus.
Okay.
So we don't know how that will fit in. Is that going to take the place of doing another series? Because as we know, we're ending 2 things and replacing it so far with just one, which is Starfleet Academy. So is this going to be the other part of replacing those 2 shows?
Well, I will say that this is an interesting development because we didn't even discuss the possibility. Oh, man, instead of a series, why don't they just do a movie?
Right.
Nobody did.
Right.
And more importantly, does this mean that they're not going to do any real movies, so to speak? Theater releases.
Real movie, theatrical.
I think that's still up in the air as to what the plan is for that. I was reading, I think I was reading someplace that the part of the thought process was to build up the momentum on the streaming service before you decided to go another movie in the theaters with it. But hard to say, because we know Chris Pine and Zach and the gang are anxious to get up back out there as well. So
what do we call it, Clinton? The STCU?
I said the Star Trek streaming service universe or something like that. It's just very confusing to try to make those work.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. The next story just broke again the other day, and that is that the Star Trek Strange New Worlds teaser trailer has premiered, and which is good because we're kind of right at the end of Picard here, so it's nice to know what's coming next. I didn't have any specific notes about this one because it being a teaser trailer, you get bits and pieces of a lot of different things in this.
The only notes I had was it looked like fun. It was going to be a lot of fun to watch, because it looked a little not lighthearted, but it just kind of looked it looked a little more fun instead of heavy.
Which, as we know, can be, it's a teaser, so that we might not. Well, though there's at least one scene where we see, if it's not a Gorn, it's some other creature that's in a very threatening with a big open jaw.
And Spock drinking with the Klingons. I was like, oh, Klingons, there we go.
Yeah, real Klingons.
Yeah.
Well, of course, now you're back to that same issue again, though, because now you have Klingons that look like the movies in the TOS timeline. Timeline. So it's all.
Hey, we don't talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, we will anyway. We will indeed.
Well, the part I liked about it the best was that we saw so much of Una. I wasn't sure how much she was going to be out of the season or not in the season. After all, they canceled number 1 after the first pilot last time. So that was great to see her back again.
It seems like a non-event that she's back. Is just like, well, of course she's back, and then she's just in the dialogue, having conversations with people. It's like, hey, weren't you going off to be taken away?
Then again, we've learned never to trust the trailers farther than you can throw them.
Right, because there's one scene in there which appears to take place on Earth in Star Trek's past. I don't know the possibilities of that being a holodeck, because we're kind of all over the place again with the holodeck technology on Discovery. How does that translate? And I don't think it can be the holodeck, because really, you shouldn't be that advanced, because Riker was commenting about how amazing the holodeck was on the Enterprise in the, the original pilot for TNG. So I don't think I don't think it'd be that realistic. So I'm
Maybe they
guessing
just
it's
have one
time
of those
travel.
volume screens in the loading dock.
Cargo bay with a volume. They have to
Well-
start somewhere.
But was it no, it wasn't Star Trek Continues where they did the holodeck on the TOS era.
Well, it's not out of question to actually have one. It's just out of out of character to have one that's really sophisticated, because in the animated series they had essentially a holodeck. It was kind of limited in what most of it was environments and not lots of people walking around or creatures walking around. So
There was an
Right.
alien version in Enterprise at one point, so
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Oh.
true.
And they had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So, the Enterprise probably
Yeah,
had
Trip-
a hollow broom closet.
Hey, Trip enjoyed it.
He did well.
Just saying.
He had a little memento afterwards, but that's another story.
Oh yeah, I think it was Star Trek Continues. They had the holodeck, and was it Doug Drexler that was the Mexican gunfighter?
Oh, right.
yeah.
That was
Right.
that was actually pretty cool. That turned out all right.
Well, speaking about cool things that are kind of out of left field, Craig, you've got the next story.
All right, so really not related. Well, sort of related to Star Trek. The Galaxy Quest series is in early development, and this time it's at Paramount Plus. Variety has reported that Paramount Plus and Paramount Television Studios are in the early stages of adapting, the cult classic comedy into a television show. At this time, the only member of the creative team officially attached to it is Mark Johnson, who produced the original film and would serve as an executive producer on the potential series. Paramount Television series and Paramount Plus declined to comment. This is the latest attempt to adapt Galaxy Quest to the small screen. It was previously reported in 2015 that Amazon was developing the series version and would have reunited the entire film's cast, but the plans ended up stopping upon the death of Alan Rickman, which is still too soon. There have since been various writers attached to the project, though none of the versions have ultimately gone forward anywhere.
This almost feels like a conflict of interest with Paramount.
Yeah, I
A little bit. Yep.
I don't know exactly what to make of it. I mean, if the studio that makes the original is also making its own parody of it, or
Are they going to fight over guest stars? What's going to happen?
is it going to be cross
have Chris-
promotion?
Yeah, they need like Chris Pine to guest star on it.
No, that's crossing too many streams at once. I can't even imagine it.
Crossovers? No.
That's right. We'll have Mariner and Boimler just
Yeah, I
go
was
over
going to
there.
say,
Everything will be
Newsom will
fine.
show up. What could possibly go wrong? You want a comedy?
Captain, we're detecting a Federation ship entering space, and it's like the Cerritos.
I don't know what to make of it, but maybe they're seeing this as well. If somebody else can be doing the Orville, why can't we do Galaxy Quest?
Maybe they'll pick up the Orville, Paramount Plus.
Yeah, maybe so. Now that's really messing with my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Hold on, I had something on top of my head.
You were going to say Studebaker, and I have no idea why.
Yeah, that's right. I don't remember.
Hashtag.
I would actually I loved Galaxy Quest. I don't know about you guys, but I'd love to see it turn into a series. I'm not sure how they would do it as a series, but if they did it as a series, I got to see at least a couple episodes where they flash back to when they were filming episode XYZ, and it looks like they're on the cardboard sets, jumping around.
Well, it'd be curious how they do it, if they keep it very meta or actually dive in and
Right,
go
that's
actual,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Do a
Right,
prequel, because that's what you do.
That is what you do. The technology, it's all different now. Yeah, well, there you go.
I thought it was hilarious when they back in the day, which was kind of groundbreaking a little bit when they were promoting the film. They had that fan website where the guy had been reviewing all the episodes, and where it looked like somebody's website where they've been reviewing all the episodes of Galaxy Quest.
Viral marketing.
Now, I remember thinking to myself, did I miss something? Why would I miss that show? Yeah. That's in my wheelhouse. How'd I miss that?
It was on UHF. You couldn't pick it up everywhere.
Oh, okay. Maybe.
All right. And we're going to skip news from Vulcan, Alberta, Canada, because we have so much else going on. We'll get back.
Clinton, you know somebody cut
the Vulcan news too. Oh,
hey, you know somebody had cut their lawn.
I actually did have a story, but we don't have time for it. We got to keep moving. We'll cover that next time around. Now, we've only had a chance to talk about a few stories, but we have links to 43 additional stories broken out by series, movies, and other categories. And you can find them in the show notes for episode 136 over at thetopicistrek.com. All right. That said, it's time for my favorite part of the show, and that's where I get to say goodbye, Charlie.
I want to stay.
We don't want you to.
Thank God he's off our ship. Oh.
All right.
that guy all the time.
It's time to head out on our main mission with an appropriate sound effect.
Oh, how's this one?
What are you mumbling about?
Exactly, Eric. We have no idea what we're talking about at all. But we do know that, as we mentioned at the top of the show, spoiler alert, because we are going to be talking about episodes 9 and 10 of season 3 of Picard, Vox and the Last Generation, which sounds very ominous, doesn't it? The Last Generation.
Did you notice Vox had like a little tilde on it?
Like
Vox.
on my slide? Yes, I did.
Isn't that cool?
Actually, I kept thinking when I saw that, I was thinking Vokes as in like
The
Tyler
Klingon?
the Klingon. Yeah. Vokes.
Yeah, that was his episode, entirely written by him.
All right. Why don't we start off? We'll have Gary read the. We don't have an episode description because we got to get right into it. But Gary, can you give us just a little bit of the credit part of this episode, the first one?
Sure can. We're starting off with season 3 of Picard, episode 9, Vox, written by Sean Tretta and Kylie Rossiter, and directed by our new favorite director, Terry Matalas.
Ooh,
Got his own planet, his own solar system.
Jonathan is hurt. My goodness.
I love Mr. Frakes very much, and I was even trapped in an elevator one time with him. But I still like Terry's work now.
Wait,
All right.
you were trapped in an elevator with him?
Yes, my wife set me up. We were at Dragon Con. I was standing looking forward in the elevator, and my wife says, "Oh, hey Gary, who's your favorite actor from Star Trek?"
Oh no.
And I
Brent
said,
Spiner's great.
I said, I really, Shatner's always been a favorite of mine. She's like, yeah, but who else? Who from that other show?
Other show?
I said, there's so many talented ones. She's like,
Avery
"What about the guy with
Brooks?
the beard?" I said, oh, he's pretty good. And then I turn around and Frakes is right behind me and he's just smirking.
Wow. Wow.
Set me up. Yep, set me up.
He says Shatner, huh? Oh, okay. There we go.
He stabbed me in the back with a mek'leth.
Yeah.
You feel his glare. No.
All right, let's get into it. First, we'll talk about, we're going to try to talk about the various points in the episode. And the first one, we'll start right off with the red door and the red vine. So we finally, after 8 episodes, start to tie some of these things together. And we find out roughly, I don't know if we really ever actually put the nail in it, that these vines are connections. These vines are reminiscent of the vines he encountered on the planet, the Arboretum, that they, I think Troy says that they remind her of, neurons, just all sorts of things. But she's
reminded me of weeds. It's like just going all over the place.
Okay.
Somebody needs to clean up the ship. Look at that.
Yeah. But Troy says, you don't have to worry, that I'm with you, and you're not alone. And do you mind if I open up the door? And by this point, he's suddenly raring to go on this, which should be a kind of a giveaway that something is going on here, because he seems really, really anxious to be doing this. So Troy opens the door, and when she does what any good counselor does. She gets up and runs out of the room.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
It was a Chuck E. Cheese Pizza Time Theater piano playing concert. I'm out of here.
I'm scared.
I'm glad she
I'm
stared
not
to
with you.
comfort
I'm
her
sorry.
patient during this trying moment.
I mean, I had a real problem with that. I really did. That, you know, she's encountered the Borg before. She's a professional. She knows what a counselor should and shouldn't do, even if it's, and I was having this conversation with my wife, Bonnie, even if it's a case where if she quickly backs out of it and says, you have to excuse me, I'll be right back.
Right.
Don't just run out of the room.
Yeah.
And I never remember her abilities being like almost full telepathy. I thought it was still that emotional. She could just feel what they were feeling, like anger, frustration, not able to actually get into the like mental.
Yeah, this
state.
was more Vulcanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
she's
mean,
picked up skills over the last 20 years. Yeah.
well, that
Right. Yeah. Everybody's got new skills, apparently. We'll talk
That-
more about that later.
Yeah. I mean, that could very well be. But she goes, now, the other thing I thought was odd is it's the counselor's quarters, right? She goes running out. Why does the door close on Jack? I didn't understand that either. He's just like, he doesn't chase after her because the
She was
door
using
closes on
she
him.
was using her telepathy. Close the door. Close the door.
Ah,
Now
okay.
she's got Jedi mind powers.
Is this
Great,
some kind of
Greg.
lockdown mode. Like
Yeah.
I'm going, and he's so bad. As I walk out, it's gonna lock it down because he's nuts.
Right.
I see. It knows all. It sees all.
Then we
Oh.
get one of the most critical parts as they reveal what she saw. And they say, the Borg, we haven't heard about them in over a decade.
And Picard at that point, you go, well, actually,
Season 2? Hello?
season
Okay.
1.
Oh.
That's my whole issue with this episode. And I was talking about this last week with Crazy Joe and some of his friends, and they said, oh, that's explained in episode 4 when Shaw is doing his reveal of, you know, why he so doesn't like Picard and all this stuff about Wolf 359. And he says this line, and this is all there is to go on: forget about the Stargazer, the real Borg are still out there.
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. These are different.
That's supposed to absolve this whole plot.
Girardi,
discontinuity?
Girardi and her Borg are from a different time era. So yes.
It's still the Borg to
Yeah.
And
me.
they're still there.
Well, you know what they reminded me of immediately, and I mentioned it on this show before. Remember at the end of Star Trek V when they're all drinking and hanging out with the Klingons, and then in the episode, I'm sorry, the number 7, the Undiscovered Country. They are not number 7,
6
but
was
Undiscovered Country. They're like, wow, we've never been this close. I'm like,
Even
We're
though
just
they've
drinking
encountered
with
them. Well, yeah, and in the original series, they were chatting it up on, you know,
yeah.
on K7. They were
Right.
You know,
encountering
I can give a little forgiveness there because different writers, years between production cycles. This was done pretty much in a bottle. You know, everything was conceived end to end on 3 seasons. Why would you say that or not have somebody respond, hey, you know, maybe they're friends of Dr. Girardi, Borg Queen now, you know, some sort of connection to what just happened, not just go, oh, yeah, over a decade. Yeah.
Especially when 2 and 3 were filmed back to back with each other. You know,
Right.
It's not like there was a gap.
Right, because you can understand why Beverly might not know because she hasn't been in the loop, but Picard knows full well. It's almost like, why did you put the line in to begin with? Because then you have to try to figure out how that even could have worked. I mean, you don't
not
need it.
satisfied with that.
But we go through the explanation here of they suddenly realize that this is not something that's, excuse me, mechanical, that it's organic, that it's somehow something that Jean-Luc passed on, that he had received while being Locutus, that he didn't have aromatic syndrome. He actually had, that was just like a side effect of what had actually happened to him. But I thought it was interesting that that's all like put together in like a minute and a half. We realize this, we realize that, we realize the other thing.
I thought it was a great retcon though for the whole thing. I thought it fit really well with this whole that it wasn't aromatic syndrome. I bought into it really well. I said,
Oh yeah, me too.
Oh yeah, that part works great.
Yeah.
Okay, so they detect a transwarp conduit opening up, and please, Clinton, tell me you got some screenshots of all the ship names laid out.
No.
Oh, that was some good stuff right there. I mean, that was multiple freeze frames to go. All right, we've got some familiar names on here, but then you look closer, and there's like the USS Drexler, the USS Akuta. Wasn't there a Hikaru Sulu or something
There
too?
was.
There were 2 USS Clarks. I don't know why, but there.
One
One
was
was
named
Clark
after
Barr,
Watching
and one was
it
Roger
on
C.
the
Clark.
screen and look at it and look close.
Right, right. We also saw the NCC 1701F.
Yeah, that's where I start getting into a problem here.
Why is that?
Well, the big
Save it
reveal
for
at
the next
the end.
episode. Save it for the next.
Save it for next. Well, no, I mean, I was like, okay, well, it was cool seeing the F, but then, of course, they introduced the G. It's like
We got to see Admiral Shelby.
Hey, and guess
Oh,
what?
wait.
She got command of the Enterprise after all. There.
yeah. When none of them are around,
And Riker's still a captain.
Yeah.
And I don't think Riker still liked her. Yeah.
So
I love that how Frakes played that like sort of still hostility, not like bad, but just like when he was talking about her. That was that was a nice touch to it.
They talked about that a little bit on the Ready Room too.
You've got Data consoling Picard. I thought that was a touching scene.
right. So first we have to have Jack leave the ship because he suddenly says, "Well, that's all well and good, but I'm going to go show that queen a thing or two." Yeah, that's going to work out really well. So Picard can't stop him, and Beverly can't stop him, and he just walks his way to a shuttle because he's controlling the crew. And we don't really yet know exactly how, other than the fact that he just does that type of thing, and heads off. And we have Picard and Crusher looking out, and of course, Crusher is devastated by this. This is now like child number 2 just heading off somewhere. And she said that I gave Wesley space and I lost him to it.
Yeah,
so I kept
I literally gave him space.
Yeah. So I kept a much closer eye on Jack, and, kept him close, and I think too close to know what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So she's but to her credit, she says, well, essentially there's no reason to sit around moping about it. I'm going to figure out what I can do about it, which is good.
And then we get back to Earth and see space fireworks going off for Frontier Day.
Oh boy! Well, hold your horses here. Hold your
horses. I like fireworks.
Remember, we're kind of take these down the path of what's happening with the characters here.
Gotcha.
All right, so Jack makes it to.
Oh, can we go back for just 1 second, quick?
We certainly can.
I just want to talk about Data really fast with that one moment. We've seen him goof around, laugh, and cry with emotion chips and stuff like that. But the simple act of putting his hand on his shoulder made me feel like Data's finally achieved his humanity.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Without words, it was such a touching moment for that character to have sort of really, in my mind, gotten where he's always tried to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't one of these awkward, mechanical pat on the shoulder.
Exactly. Yeah. It was heartfelt. It was human. For Data to do that was, with not being goofy or like.
He even said he understood he couldn't say anything.
Was really nice.
Yeah, he said he understood that he couldn't say anything to make things better.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, okay. That's exactly right.
But that was a great moment for Brent there. I really felt that the character was just it sort of reached its fruition for me.
Yep.
That moment.
But then things get worse for Jack because he makes it to the Borg cube. Well, no, I'm calling it a Borg cube in all my slides. I don't really know if we know what shape this thing is, but
yet
we'll call it, for argument's sake, the cube. He makes it there, and he finds the queen, who has a very, very familiar voice, which kind of puzzled us all at the beginning.
Not
And
me. I'm like, that has to be Alice.
Well, it was nice they didn't show a face in this episode. Yeah, they did
Exactly.
leave some mystery.
It was Alex Green.
yes,
Yeah, I know.
right.
Okay.
She's credited in the end credits for the episode as a voice of the Borg Queen.
Yeah.
And Jack says, this is a mercy killing. I'm going to take care of you. And he can't pull the trigger. And she knows he can't pull the trigger.
He just throws his phaser down.
Yeah. And she says, just surrender to the inevitable, my son. And he gets
Plugged in.
into the Borg.
He gets jacked in.
Borg, why do they need to plug him in like that?
Yeah, don't they have wireless by now?
You'll
find out in the next episode why.
They didn't give him the wireless password. That's what
no, that's very, very secure, very secure. You couldn't get to that firewall.
He is the Wi-Fi.
He hasn't moved up to G yet.
Oh, there it is again.
Was it?
No, he is the access point. He's broadcasting to everybody.
Oh, you got 5 gigahertz? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that. Hey, but by the way, did you not think it was a little surprising the phaser style he had?
I didn't notice
very TOS style.
Yeah, it had a light on the side of it.
Yeah. You don't Section 31 ain't gonna be walking around all covert and have a light on the side of the phaser.
He borrowed it from Jordy's.
Yeah, it's like half TOS, half Star Trek 5 with that assault phaser. It's a nice sort of combination.
Yeah.
Stole it from the museum when Jordy wasn't looking.
Yes,
exactly. Right. All right. So meanwhile on board the Titan, they're finally putting all those clues together. They realize that the way it works is that Picard was a great receiver of Borg signals, which is why he was so useful as Locutus and why he was, so easily tempted and could be manipulated.
And that kind of explains why he was able to hear it
years later.
Right, even after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And that when he passed on this DNA, which has the side effect of apparently having the syndrome, that Jack is a transmitter. And so we've got the two sides, and that graphic, which I'm sure was driving us all crazy for the longest time about what is that thing going back and forth in the end credits. We find out that's the illustration of Jack Crusher and Jean-Luc and the transmitter and the receiver. And they then discovered that the DNA, Picard's DNA, the particular sequence that the Borg had implanted was placed into the transporter system. Now, I thought it was odd that Geordi had no idea about how the packets worked in a transporter.
Right.
But, everybody has a specialty, I guess.
Well, O'Brien was the one in the room all the time. So
yeah, where was O'Brien when we needed him?
That's true. Well, he's off someplace Deep Space Nining or something.
Our prediction that Cole Meany would be in the series has failed.
Oh, so terrible.
That would have been a great place for him too.
Yeah.
But we discovered that this code has now been placed into the common biology of the transporter system. And the way it works is if something is common to all the species, the transporter has that piece of code. It doesn't try to get it from the person. It just, for efficiency's sake, throws it in. And
so it's not a macro. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So this receiver DNA has been put into every single person who's been through the transporters.
Great. This is where cut and paste really gets us.
Yeah.
That's right. I got shortcuts.
I got Craig's teeth.
I'm okay. What's wrong with my teeth?
Wait, they're doing all this and I'm still bald? What?
Isn't hair common to everybody?
Right.
Well, Picard, that's part of the DNA that's going through there.
I'm not just the United Federation's president. Big lock of hair.
And they've been assimilating Starfleet all this time.
Actually, I thought that was very clever.
With sleeper agents.
That was
but it's not everybody. It's only activated in the youngsters. You have to be under 25. Because that was my first question. It's like, wait, you all have been through the transporter numerous times. And then 30 seconds later.
Finally, old age is as a benefit.
Yeah, there were some great lines out of that too.
The thing I didn't look back to find out is How long ago had the theft been at Daystrom Institute? Because we know that the entire series is roughly a week, but it happened before the series began.
Right.
Because you have to propagate this to the proper extent rapidly.
Well, they said it's been going on as long as Picard's been back, right? I mean,
No, it has to be going on as long as they've had the body.
right.
Well, didn't Ro know about it because she didn't want to get into a transporter?
She suspected there was something going on with the transporter. She had no idea what.
Yep.
She just was leery about using it, which is why she took the shuttle.
So I'm just saying it. So it had to be going on for at least a little while that she was already changing her behavior.
Yep.
Right, but it can't have started any earlier than they got Picard's body from the Daystrom station. So the question is, how long before this week did that event take place? Was it weeks, a month? I'm not sure.
It had kind of a Logan's Run feel to it. Like, oh, all the young people are in charge, kill all the old people.
Thank God.
Whoa. And we finally
are in charge.
Yeah. We finally get to 0 hour. It's actually Frontier Day. Yay!
Fireworks in space. How does that work?
We've been talking about it for years.
I have no idea.
Torpedoes.
What I was looking for was to see if any of them kind of trailed downward, because that would be a real tell.
There's no gravity out
if
there.
that happened. Yes, and we have a Fleet Admiral Shelby, Elizabeth Shelby, gets a first name. How convenient. It's also the actress's first name.
That's right.
And she is proud to announce that the entire fleet has now been essentially connected together.
Yeah.
Because that's a good idea.
Well, at first I was watching
kind of ironic that the person who was against the Borg is employing a Borg philosophy technology.
Well, at first when I was watching that, I went, oh, cool. No, wait, that's not cool.
Makes you wonder what your appliances and all your Wi-Fi switches and whatnot is going to do.
Why do they want my dishwasher on Wi-Fi? Now
my refrigerator is part of the Borg collective.
Internet of Things, my butt. So I have a question, though. This whole thing of Frontier Day, you have Shelby come out and say, you know, this is the 250th anniversary of the launch of the NX-01, which led eventually to what we know as Starfleet. Starfleet existed before the NX-01 made its first, set off on its first mission.
You're right. She should have said the Federation.
Well, the Federation wouldn't be cause of this either. I mean, Archer was instrumental in the foundation of the Federation.
Right.
But also then, why would Starfleet be celebrating that when you've got the Federation to do that? So I think it was, again, it's one of those, if you just didn't have that line in there, it would be so much better, because I believe even in Enterprise, they kind of make reference that Starfleet already existed.
Yeah, but it was one of those things where it was an Earth thing, but then it became a planetary thing. Even in some of the books and stuff, they have a hard time breaking down those early years because, there was that term, but Starfleet became, when the Vulcans came in, it still was Starfleet. So it grew, it changed.
Like podcasting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody likes podcasting.
Sure.
I have a question.
I hate it. Been doing it
oh.
for 18 years.
I have a question because I put this in here. Now I've heard that Terry Matalas said there is no reason for the pattern that the ships are making, that it was just essentially to show, how do you show a large group of ships?
Oh,
you do this. And I'm looking at that going, I don't know. To me, that looks exactly like the Terran Empire soared through the Earth.
Oh, yeah, I guess maybe it does.
Which I've got on this, the screen as a slide there. It's kind of hard to distinguish the
There were
Earth.
they broke into smaller groups though, and
but several of them made this very specific pattern.
I thought it was the Borg language. Don't they have that?
No, I just
it was all circles.
As they were breaking into groups, kind of like the Romans came up with the phalanx of smaller groups, and you can maneuver those around without getting one big block of.
Yeah, I read one thing where big ships were in the center and small ships were on the outside, but it was hard to tell. Some people are even calling it DNA fragments.
Yeah, so I don't know. To me, it just because I try to make sense of the pattern, obviously.
I think everybody did.
And to me, it immediately leapt out that you've got a circle, you've got some stuff in there which would represent the continents, and then you have a downward. No, there's no up and down in space, but going through it, you have what appears to be the sword with a thick part where the handle would be, and it trails to a point at the bottom. And I'm saying, okay, that pretty much is the Terran Empire logo. So
Yeah,
I was
All
just
came
happy,
from the other.
I
I
thought their
was just happy
formation.
it didn't look like Riker's fleet from season 2. 500 of the exact same ship. So
yes,
I was very happy to have this non-homogeneous grouping of ships.
absolutely.
Actually, I think it was supposed to be the Borg language. You know, they have those symbols, and they look like that.
Do they all have a circle?
Yeah, they're kind of circular and.
Okay,
but,
well,
yeah.
all right.
I'm looking for a picture of it, but
All right. Well, I
Um,
will. That makes sense too. That's good too.
Do you need to write your letters in space? Like point
Yeah.
this planet first.
yeah.
Maybe it's
Yes.
like tagging it mine.
Yes. Please stand by. Because
Borg.
we do stand by, and Jack has now been, as Chuck says, jacked into the machine, and he begins transmitting. And as he transmits, suddenly all those youngins under 25.
Stupid kids.
My
Start getting
notes say
Borgified.
kids these days.
Yeah.
In my day, we had to be plugged in.
Yeah.
And the fleet is assimilated, and Shelby.
Oh man, I felt bad for Jordy. You know, his 2 daughters were out there, and they were caught up in it.
Right. And there, he can't really get to them because going to the bridge is not a plan, as Data points out. But they have to get off of the ship now because it turns out that they don't want to assimilate the people over 25. They want to eliminate the people over 25.
Yeah, they even said so much, didn't they?
They did. They said eliminate the
Not assimilated.
the unassimilated, right? So they're trying to get off the ship, and they discover that, oh, we can go down to a maintenance bay and get a shuttle out of there. That sounds great. But somebody doesn't make it.
Oh,
Well,
That
don't they got a
Wasn't that heartbraking? Oh my
a
god.
distress call on the maintenance channel 99 Delta, which I think is a great name for either a band or a podcast.
Was
Both.
it the name of an Oldsmobile? I don't remember.
Yeah. That,
No, that
I
was
think
a
mom and dad.
Delta
I think mom and
88.
dad owned one.
my soundtrack cover band.
It was a Delta 88.
Yeah, I think my parents owned one and it had an 8-track player in the front.
Oh, there you go.
Wait, no, that was the flight I took from San Diego to here.
Ugh,
99
Right.
Delta.
it's all
Right.
that and more. Yeah, so I was kind of confused because they said, well, there's nobody down on that deck. I'm going, well, the Borg are like trying to look for all the people that are not assimilated. I think they're looking everywhere. They're not going to
They're
say, well, we're
not
not going to
very-
go to that deck.
They're not very good at searching them out, are they?
No.
He actually went
Scan
on the
for life signs or something.
he used the communicator to tell everybody to go to that deck. Oh, they don't
Well-
have any communicators. They're not going to hear that.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out, was he trying to be on just a private channel to, it's like a group chat that he had going on there. It's like, if you're everybody else, sorry, but we're going to go.
Computer, send this on WhatsApp. You know? Everybody
that's-
meet me on 99 Delta.
That's why
Yeah.
Shaw probably didn't want to go, because if a lot of people showed up, he go, okay, you're number 10. Oh no, not again. Don't wanna
Actually,
go.
when this episode came up and Shaw actually bid it, I was like, there are a lot of people that are going to be flipping out because we saw his reception at on the Star Trek The Cruise. People, I mean, I liked him eventually, but I was like,
Eventually.
I mean,
Craig gets on board and punches.
at first you're like, I don't know, we were kind of like, I didn't know where he was going with this character, but everybody loved him on the cruise. They went nuts for this guy. Even he mentioned it. He says, "Wow, the love I'm getting. I've only been in 2 episodes."
So
And then there he is.
Well, it's kind of the Hammer effect, right? you have introduced the character to have them killed off, and you start to really like them.
Yeah.
We'll
And then
talk
they're
Oh,
about
well,
gone.
people
that
were,
in the next
some of those
episode,
people
too.
were hoping for a Titan show with Shaw as the captain. Well, you certainly didn't get that at the end of this.
No.
Yeah, that was disappointing. I really felt they put a decent amount of time to develop the character, and just
Mhm.
to waste them like this.
Well, I think that as with usually a death like this, what they're trying to do is say, and the people involved with the show had said nobody is safe.
Right.
So here you've now developed this character who seems to have been kind of warming to the idea that maybe these people do know what they're doing and so forth, and then you just kill him, and whoa, that was unexpected. I don't know. Is something going to happen to
It was
somebody
unexpected,
else?
all right. Yeah, no kidding. It was unexpected, all right.
Yeah, as a side note, the actor wears a shirt. I survived Wolf 359.
Yeah.
Very funny.
I did see that.
But not
Yeah.
a hallway on the
He
maintenance
and
deck.
Cisco can have drinks together, and who else?
Yeah. Yeah, he was actually playing the crowd pretty good on the cruise.
Yeah. Hashtag Shaw was right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And we leave Rafi and Seven on the ship, which is now officially or unofficially, because Shaw gave her command of the ship. She is now the captain of the Titan A.
Well, the rest
But
of them take off in this shuttle, and I get one of my favorite lines out of Data ever. I hope we die quickly.
Yeah. That's
Now,
right.
way back when we had the first mention of this, I mean, I did a tweet about it, but I'm sure like lots of people noticed when Geordi and his daughter, I can't remember if they were both there, were in talking with Picard, and she says, "What about Hangar 12?" I'm going, well, I'm sure there's the fat one is in there.
Yeah.
And
Fat one.
sure enough, we go and we find the Enterprise D.
And then a whole bunch of we missed one of my favorite Troy lines. I've never been so happy to see so many wrinkles.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
But yes, the Enterprise D, this was Geordi's restoration project, and I thought some of my friends trying to restore old pickup trucks were ambitious.
Yeah.
He went to town, and they had this nice heartwarming scene of getting on the bridge, and Jean-Luc says, "I miss the carpet."
Yeah. Actually, being with y'all now right here made me realize how much I missed the carpet. I was like,
Actually, where I lost it during this whole sequence was when I heard Majel's voice as the computer.
Yes.
God, how much I missed that, and hearing that with ships. And when I heard her voice, activate,
well, Riker missed
eyes
it
got a
too.
little
Yeah,
misty.
yeah, we get a nod at the
That's-
end of
that was
the
Yeah, Riker was like, "Oh, I missed that voice." Yeah, that was nice.
Now, can someone tell me why they
Yes.
have a whole arsenal of active photon torpedoes
on a
at the
museum
Fleet
piece.
Museum?
Realistic?
They're from
Yeah, no,
they're
because
from,
if
they're
you
from
go
World War.
on board
Hey, they're relics from World War III.
They were going to convert them for fireworks.
I
for
see.
Frontier Day,
There you go.
because if you've been on a decommissioned submarine, there will be torpedoes, but they're not active.
Right, they're not active. These were clearly active photon torpedoes.
Hey, Jordy's
Well,
down to the
see,
nth detail.
I did love that scene. Speaking of the torpedoes, when they flew across the Borg cube and they were shooting, they were firing phasers and torpedoes.
You're jumping ahead again.
Yeah, I know, I am. But everybody looked back at Beverly because she wanted tactical. Like, wow, didn't expect you to be doing that.
Well, plus the fact that, that is one of the few cases where, hey, we don't have just phasers. We actually have photon torpedoes, and we can use them both at the same time. Because there were several points in this series where fire everything was just phasers, or they would just shoot a photon. It's like
Spread of photons, yeah.
everything means everything, as far as I can tell, and that's not everything.
Throw soup cans at them. I don't care.
Yep.
All right.
Right.
Do we have any other thoughts or comments about Vox?
What are we rating this on?
Yes, I do have a couple of comments. One at at one of the endings, there was like about 3 or 4 of them, I think. One of the endings, Riker, Picard, and Geordi were standing on the bridge, and they were like reminiscing, say, "Oh, there's never enough time to talk about this bridge." And the 3 old men talking, but they were where it said a year later, right?
Yeah, that's the next episode.
That's
And
at
they were-
the next episode. Stop jumping
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, you're right. Okay, I got you.
Yes. I was going to
Never
say, let's go through. Did we decide on a
A rating
we're voting?
scale.
Foxes.
Voxes? Okay. All right. Sure. 1 to 10 Voxes. Now, we'll be very
Sure. Whatever you say.
Whoops. Bumped the
diplomatic, and we'll have
soundboard.
Gary. You're a
Yeah.
guest. You get to go first.
Well, just for seeing the D, would be tempted to go 10, but I see a few things that I'm going to do an 8.5. 8.5 Foxes.
Okay.
All right.
Very, 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 very bold. I'm going to go around this way. So I'm going to say, Chuck, you're next.
Yeah. Watch your finger.
I enjoyed it very much, but like Gary, found a few holes in it as well. I'm gonna also give it an 8.5. There were just a few things that I was scratching my head on, going, well, yeah.
And I agree. I'm also going to go 8.5 on it. That there are parts that were clearly fan service in all the right places, and there were spots where it's like, okay, you're leaping through a whole lot of hoops to get to where you're trying to go to, and I'm not sure they're all sized appropriately for leaping through.
I still have a sour taste in my mouth about, the Borg. We haven't heard from them in over a decade. Like, I jumped off the couch on that one.
We've never been so close to the Klingons.
All right. And what about you, Craig?
I'm actually going to give it a 9 because of the whole reveal for the Enterprise D. It was hard not to get excited when you saw that, and I like how they weaved that in. Geordi's like, "Oh, I've been working on it for a while. It's a side project." And I was like, "Well, yeah." And
Good thing it just finished.
well, yeah, and it's exactly what they needed at that moment. I think it worked out really well.
The one thing they needed, though, the one thing that they needed, a way to turn off the lights in 99% of the ship.
Yeah,
every light was on.
Oh,
every light.
So they didn't match the aesthetic of the Titan, or they wanted it darker.
Well, one of the things is that the light,
when they lit up, all the window lights lit up. It was you could just hear somebody's dad going, "You guys turn off the lights when you leave a room."
But it was nice. The D still had all the scorch marks from landing on the planet. If you looked at the front of the dish when they did the flyby, it still wasn't polished and nice yet. You still saw the burns.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Jim.
Hey, Jim.
He's an old classmate of mine.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep.
Is he? I'm sorry, not yet.
What is going on here?
Sorry,
all
Jim.
right. It's time to move on then to our next episode. If you can maneuver your way.
And by the way, I'm sure you guys are too, but Michael and Denise Akuda, as well as Doug Drexler, they were gushing about this bridge, the reproduction of it.
Oh yeah.
After the episode was revealed, they were posting pictures of them all sitting on the captain's chair and moving around, pointing out stuff on the. I was like, that is so cool. They really worked hard. At least that's the impression I got from watching the Ready Room and everything else. That they worked hard to make this just like the original.
I even saw a picture for the wood arch in the back. They matched the wood grain from the original. That's a lot of dedication there.
Yeah, and Doug Drexler was pointing out that on the control panels on the arch that they used LEDs, but they used them in a way where they could change the color and kind of match the imperfection of the way the color looked before, because they used fluorescence.
I think they kind of had to, because the fans are going to be picking this thing apart.
Yeah. Well, think about it. They had to think about those things, like you just said, while they're making it. They go, "Oh wait, the color won't be right."
You might, you'd want a little bit of variability in there, because Jordy's
No.
rebuilding this
No,
thing.
what I'm getting at is they went through the process of thinking about those kind of iterations that you're mentioning before as they were making it, remaking it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Which I think
they
is cool.
I think if I recall correctly, there's like a little bit from different seasons of it. You know, the pattern on the carpet, you know, would have it had like a front section that led to the captain's chair before. So they didn't do that. And they, you know, the placement of the dedication plaque was from a certain, so I think it was kind of an amalgam of the seasons. So, and I know some people say, well, why didn't he recreate the one that you see in the movies? And it's like, because this is the one that he spent all the time on. You know, this is what he wanted to make again.
Yeah.
You know,
And I was thinking this thing hit a planet, the saucer section. How structurally sound is it? Because it's, you know, like a pretty big hit.
It's like a pickup truck that's been in a wreck. It goes down the road crooked.
It's like a bicycle. Like we were talking about the other day, Chuck, about a bicycle being
Potato
pitted
chip
to that
wheels.
Yeah, it's got a bend to it.
This
It'll still
sausage
work.
section- This
It'll still
sausage
work.
section looks more like a Pringles.
all right, well, let's move on.
That's all right.
Let's move on to our, because we got a lot still to get through
Oh, yeah.
here.
Episode
Yes.
10.
Episode 10. So
Yeah.
you want to give us a little bit of detail on this one, Gary?
Oh, yes, I certainly do. We're talking about the last episode of season 3. The Last
the
Generation.
one I was trying to skip to.
Yeah. Written and directed by Terry Matalas. We have the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad, and the happy. Take it on.
Indeed.
And they'd waste no time. Like
Right. We
the
start
ship
off with
flying
kind
around
of a,
making the Delta shield, and then they have the little like.
Oh, yeah,
decaying-
that was a nice teaser in the
right
beginning.
out of the gate. You
Yeah,
had to watch every second of this episode closely.
yeah.
so
I did
we
like
start
the
off
little
with-
opener. Yeah.
yeah, we start off with a little bit of a recap to find out, well, since not a recap of rewind stuff, but kind of here is what's happening on the Enterprise and what they're going to be doing, and here's what's happening on the Titan and what they're going to be doing. And then we also get what's happening on Earth, and that's done via a very, very special voiceover.
Yes.
Oh my God, they keep knocking it out of the park with these guest appearances. Amazing.
How did they get Anton Chekhov?
Yeah, no kidding. He's not even born
President
yet.
Anton Chekhov.
He's not even born yet.
which I thought was a great nod to Anton Yelchin
Yes.
to have his, you know, Chekhov's son's name be Anton, which was really, really nice. And it didn't go by any of us that I would say a good 60%, because it had to be specific to the event, but a good 60% of what he's saying is lifted directly out of the Voyage Home.
Yeah. Do not approach Earth.
So that was a nice callback there as
It's nice
well.
to know that
Really? They
Starfleet
didn't get
has a
Walter to just
standard,
do-
standard speech for planetary takeovers.
You like that, huh? That's good.
Yeah. He just went in the file cabinet and went,
It
yeah,
just
this is it.
it didn't know about what to do with the accent though. It's like, I don't know, it's throwing this accent in there. What is it? What's up with that?
Oh, when
At
he
least-
talks about his father and all of a
Yes.
sudden the accent flips. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff there.
I thought
All
it was pretty cool. You know, I was talking with Clinton earlier, but when we heard that voice, I went, "How would he be old and how could he be there? How could this work? Because of how old Pavel Chekhov would be." And it was like, "Oh no, wait a minute! It says Anton." I went,
Yeah.
and then I read that it was intended to be his son. I went, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense."
Now
Instead
this is one of my first dings in the show. Is
What?
they say if Earth falls,
Yeah.
then everything fails. Like,
Right.
wait, what? How? What about the Klingons, the Romulans, the Cardassians, everybody
Yeah.
else? It doesn't seem like, why is Earth the linchpin to the whole galaxy? That just seemed off.
We
to me.
create communities according to.
Yeah. I think it has to do with the Federation of Planets. You know, it's like, hey, it's the first place they,
Federation can survive. If we are
Hey.
the single point of failure for this whole Federation thing,
We're in
then
trouble.
we're in big trouble.
yeah. As you can tell, with no Federation, we're trying to kill ourselves.
Because every single time someone gets on board a Federation ship, they get all the plans of the Federation. So, we just gotta,
Right.
the Earth defenses, which
And
we
where
get
do
to
they
see.
head? Right for the Sol system.
Yeah, we sort of see those on display as well. But now that's where things stand. But what are people going to do? So we have the plan of action of what's going to happen. On the Titan, their mission is to disconnect from the formation because they can't really do anything if they are locked in with the rest of the fleet.
Right.
And then they have to.
I like on the L cars, it kept saying fleet formation, like almost like an error message.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like an override. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to disconnect somehow. Not sure how we're going to do it, but we have to do it.
And then the Enterprise D has to destroy the Borg beacon. And they've located Jack. And so obviously another mission is to try to rescue Jack.
Well,
That's
they located the Borg cube in the giant red spot on Jupiter. Okay. Now, which I thought was a cool effect with all the smoke and swirling gas and whatnot. But that cube had a lot of antennas, and maybe that's because Jack's a transmitter and he just needs better reception or better way to transmit his message.
Yeah.
But I thought Jupiter's gravity is really, really, really strong to stay there in a storm.
Yeah. In that position.
And then later when it goes to pieces, spoiler alert, none of that stuff falls into the planet. Yet it can suck in comets from miles away. I'm just
Right.
like, there were a few physics things going on here in my head.
36% or something, and you're like,
Hey, I did love how they showed the scale. The Enterprise D, that fat one looked tiny, compared to the Borg cube. I was like, because they backed off and you could see it. It was like, just you can't see my hand, but
It was too big to be banana for scale, so they used the Enterprise D for scale.
That's right.
because even when they were doing the bombing runs, you could really get a sense of the size. Yeah.
Yeah.
We will get to the bombing runs and so forth. But
The Millennium Falcon, you mean?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll get there.
Saucer separate, please.
Right.
But part of this plan is you end up having Picard and Riker and Worf go onto the Borg vessel. And of course, everybody's really kind of hesitant about doing this because, well, the people that are staying are very hesitant about the people who are leaving. Data wants to go with them. And apparently they don't want that they need him on the ship. But Troy, they're really not happy that Riker's going on this mission because they essentially think it's a suicide mission.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
They normally would.
But we get onto the Borg ship and they're...
No, all these Borg ships are completely safe to go beam across.
Absolutely.
I felt like the writers were tipping the hand when they're exiting the bridge, getting ready to go over to the Borg cube. And Jean-Luc turns around and says, it's been an honor serving with all of you. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's never a good sign.
I thought that was some major foreshadowing. I was like, crap.
Yeah.
Oh, I fell for that one. Yeah, that was me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly why it's in there.
Yep.
But it turns out that most of the Borg that are on the ship are dead.
Oh, as soon as I saw that, I said, I want zombie Borg. I want to see these dead ones come back.
Yeah.
And Picard makes an assumption leap, which turns out to be incorrect. He realizes that the Borg are decimated, and he thinks he wants of all of humanity to be its new army, but it's really, only some of it actually. We don't really want everybody. There's certain people we don't want. When Beverly says she knows where Jack is, and Picard says, "Oh, well, that's right below this deck and on top of that thing and over on that corner. You got to make a left at the Riker automatically says, "How do you know that?"
Yeah. I paused there for a moment to think about that as well, and then they give us
He's
an
an artificial body now, isn't he? Does he still have a?
That's what Yes, we're getting to that. The artificial body came in a little later too.
Hey, by the way, you guys notice that when somebody beams over the transporter effect for, like, say the Titan, for example, when somebody comes from the Titan somewhere, it's much faster than it is with the Enterprise D. It looks like it does in the show. It's a little slower.
Not as quick as on Discovery in the future.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
plus you can just do it from your chest. Yeah.
Well, think about when Picard went to Starfleet headquarters and just walked into that portal thing and just,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So
They're transporters everywhere. I just think, but yeah, I noticed that they intentionally made the transporter effect slower when
Yeah.
they came from like the D than they did if they came from the Titan or something.
which makes sense,
Mhm.
indeed. And yeah, Beverly says, well, you are still maybe compatible with the Hive, given your background, Jean-Luc, which is,
I thought that was a bit of a stretch.
I'm not sure if that would translate immediately into, I know exactly the layout of this cube,
Right.
but we'll take that for
Well,
what
I think
it's
he had
worth.
some memories. I think he had some memories.
Or he
Yeah, but
jumped
not
on
on
the
this, not on
Wi-Fi.
this cube.
But they didn't say I remember the way. He says,
Right.
Well, my thought was he understood how they normally organize themselves. So,
Now,
that's
can you
what
tell me where the Starbucks is?
Yeah, it's a level 3.
You can't get there from here. Just
Yeah.
Loans and hang a right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You got to use
It's
a
on every
transporter.
corner of every deck. It's hard to miss.
Yeah, you got to use a transporter.
So meanwhile, back on board Titan A, we have a reluctant chef who's going to be piloting the Titan.
His
And
mother just had hip surgery, and he was. I loved all the
Had to
excuses.
go back to the deli
Now,
and
we were all in a simulation because there's a chef character.
Wait, he had to run the deli. What were they? Were they relying
Hello,
on the money from the
children.
deli?
I guess so.
What
And
did
it didn't
Sean
happen in
do?
this scene. It happened in the next scene, but I'm lumping these together because we have this thing going on. We have people that are bridge crew. You have people that are not bridge crew.
Yeah.
And, essentially Seven is saying we have to go in and do this thing. We're probably going to die. And I knew that this was coming from the very first episode when Seven said, one day, how am I supposed to, I was hoping that one day I could give speeches, inspire people to follow me into risky situations. And here she was standing on the bridge, inspiring people to follow her into an extremely risky situation.
It was
Well, I
a
like
good
how they
speech.
they retook the bridge. They modified phasers with transporters. So if you shot them, they got transported. And they transported them to a locked transporter room. That's
Yeah.
insane. Just put a
Just
whole
be sure
bunch
to
of-
turn that transporter off when you lock him in there.
But before they can do that, they have to try to figure out how to break away from the formation. Because again, if they're locked
Yeah.
into it, they can't really do anything. And they realize now this was kind of the whole
Yeah.
idea of it being automated and yet it's line of sight.
Now,
Right.
if Earl was still alive, he would have known what to unplug.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense that they said auto a line of sight because that's what the whole point of having Frontier Day, because all the whole fleet was assembled.
Yeah, but the whole fleet was supposed to be controlled automatically. That was the whole point, is that one controls all or all control all, however it's actually set up. So just
Line of
because you're
sight,
cloaked or
right?
uncloaked shouldn't make any difference to where your ship is going.
Right. Or if somebody has a coolant leak and there's a smoke screen, suddenly they're detached. The line of
With
sight
battle
thing's in
damage flying around, all of a sudden they disconnect.
Yeah.
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 little weak.
And eventually it doesn't work because the planetary shield falls and their cloak is down. And why is their cloak down? Because all those people they transported into the transporter room and locked in there broke
Got it.
out and disengaged or destroyed.
Yeah. Jordy's
The cloaking
daughters
device.
did, didn't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
They were shooting it. And I was like, oh, come on.
I got to back up real quick to Jupiter. Okay, the transwarp conduit
Yes.
exited inside the atmosphere of Jupiter. So
Well, that's the
still got there.
assumption. That's the assumption. That's what they're saying. Whether or not that's true, that was the
Okay,
assumption.
now as Jupiter goes around the sun, is the end of the conduit flexible so it stays with them, or do they just wait until Jupiter flies into the end of this transwarp conduit?
It's kind
Again,
of like a
physics
garden
people.
hose,
Garden.
Is it-
wormhole type thing. Yeah, kind of.
Like the Barzan wormhole, just you never
Yeah.
know where the other end's going to appear.
Yeah.
Let's see, when in Voyager, yeah, it wasn't always fixed. So
But can it move dynamically?
Well, even in the Kelvinverse movies, they warped right into the atmosphere of, was it Titan?
That was warp, though. That's
Yeah,
not
they just appeared.
that's not a conduit.
No, I
All
know.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Right, because
We got
like I
where's our
said,
technical advisor when we need them? Oh,
exactly.
We've had a couple on here before.
All right, so now we're headed to Riker and Worf on their mission, because their mission is to locate the beacon, and they figure, okay, this is not going to be too bad because these Borg, they're all dead. Worf finds
They were
Hey.
walking around with this sensor going doo 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 doo
Yeah.
doo doo. I felt like they were looking for Spock's burial or his torpedo coffin.
or
It's right-
alien.
it's
they
right
were
here.
being Ripley.
Actually,
Yeah.
they had some good banter going back and forth. I liked it.
They did.
Yeah.
But it turns out that all the Borg were not quite so dead.
Again,
Okay.
there was some
Yet.
foreshadowing when
Yet.
Picard
Not yet.
separated from Worf and Riker. You're like, okay, this is the end of his story. He's going down the path. So we're not, Picard's going to die a hero on
Yeah.
this mission.
So Clinton, those Borg weren't dead yet. That's what.
I got my
that's
zombie
true.
Borg.
True.
That
Oh,
was
mostly.
the best part for me.
What's that?
The zombie Borg.
Oh yeah,
As soon as I saw the desiccated ones, I like
brains.
get some
Brains.
zombie Borg.
Yeah.
And Worf has out his sword, and they're trying to battle as best they can against these Borg, and it's not going well. And the sword is down, and Worf signals for Riker to
Pick it up.
Points at the sword, and whoa, this thing is really
Holy
heavy.
crap,
Right?
this is heavy.
yeah, both hands. Yeah,
It's just- the
And it's like-
handle.
And you know what? It looks more like it had less mass than his Batleth that he's he carried around on TNG
Yeah.
for a long time.
What's that? A Macleth? I think they call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he pulls a Wild Wild West. He has a little derringer inside of his big sword. His
And
little
that's
favorite
where I paused
favorite.
again and I said, should have led with that.
Yeah. Me too.
And Riker was an awfully good shot with a brand new weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. It was. But
He says, why didn't you tell me about this in the first place? To which we get the title of our show, Swords Are Fun.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Worf had some good lines on this one.
Little passive aggressive again on Worf's part there, but
Swords
We
are
should-
fun.
Can I nitpick one more thing back
No.
on
No.
the
No.
ship?
are you
No.
going back? Are you going back to Jupiter again? We don't have time to
No,
go back to Jupiter. Okay.
yes, I am, because
That's a lot of gravity on that.
not the planet itself, but they were trying to locate Jack, and Beverly is got this sonogram scan on this. Just show me all the life signs, and you get this bumpy chart thing. Now filter out for human brain waves only, and it filters down to just this one line. Like, Jack has been plugged into the Borg consciousness. He doesn't have human brain waves anymore. How did that filter work?
Well, I have the feeling that he probably does still have some, because he's just entered into it, and probably if you looked at it over time, it was just dissipating. So it probably was not going to stay like that forever.
Give me
Well,
the
but wait-
freshest human.
Wait a minute.
brain.
Picard was able to talk to him and coax him out of it. So
Right, but once he was inside
what I'm saying
the
is
machine,
there was
essentially.
there was
Yeah, we gotta
human
look at
reasoning.
The Matrix
saying-
looks like.
Well,
on
I'm
the
even-
saying, wait a minute. I'm saying there's human reasoning still
Yeah,
there. So
yeah.
yeah.
Even
And it's like
Seven of
he-
Nine still had some part of the personality, even though she was absorbed. Yeah.
Another plot complication. Picard,
Right, but
he can't unplug Jack, so he
Oh.
plugs himself in. Oh,
Well,
we're
we're
back to the cube. Back to the cube.
back to
Okay.
the cube, because the other part of this plan is, we have the Enterprise D outside the cube, and for some reason,
Not for long.
well, yeah, but for some reason, which really never gets explained, that they lower their shields and all this kind of stuff. The cube itself, it's like, did the Borg Queen do that? Did Jack do that?
Right.
Why were they doing that? Because it appears as if the Queen has no use for Picard. So
Well, she's still got a crush on him. So
oh, I see. All right. But they start suddenly the cube, when all this other mayhem and foolishness is starting up, the cube starts firing at the Enterprise, and they take evasive maneuvers, which I've never understood evasive maneuvers with phaser fire. It's like, if you can be faster than the speed of light, get out of its way. But then they want to fight back. Otherwise, this is just going to be over really quickly. And Geordi says, well, I didn't have time to calibrate everything. Beverly, you're going to have to do this on your own. And she does.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, Beverly. Again, getting to Craig's earlier point, she blasts the heck out of this and everybody turns around.
Yeah.
And again, I pause and go,
Yes.
where did she get this? And the answer comes 10 seconds later. I picked up a few things in the last 20 years.
Oh yeah. Actually, they did make her a much better character this time around.
She was badass.
Yeah, much more aggressive. Yeah, or at least the initiating of things. Yeah.
And let's talk about them turning the Enterprise into the Millennium Falcon and flying into the Death
Right.
Star.
Okay.
Because what we find out is that the transmitter is in the dead center of the, now that schematic shows a cube, so I'm still calling it the cube.
That's fine. Yep.
And they've got to get at it. And I'm sure everybody's mind flashed to one certain thing that could possibly happen, and it did. They fly the Enterprise D into the Borg cube and through these giant hallways.
The part that let me down was I was expecting a saucer separation at that point because they had to squeeze in. So I was very disappointed we didn't get our separation.
I could see that.
We're pulling out all the whistles, bells and whistles, that we would get
Maybe Geordi was a little gun shy about doing that because he just put these two pieces together.
I just fixed it. I don't want to have that big again.
Well, it wasn't
didn't
Tuesday.
build that
They
part.
didn't have those latches working yet.
Yeah.
It
That's
wasn't
right.
meant to come apart.
What was it? The Enterprise and the Syracuse? What was it?
Yeah, Syracuse. Yes.
Syracuse, yeah.
So yeah, they essentially, and I mean, we've seen the corridors in other Borg cubes. They're not that wide.
Yeah.
So this, how convenient. It's big enough with room to spare, I might add. In most cases, you can fly through there. Now, maybe that's why they show how huge that cube is when they do that for scale.
Well,
Here's the Enterprise,
yeah.
here's the
And
cube.
as I mentioned
It's
earlier,
a lot
seeing
bigger than during the TV series. It seems significantly larger for this one. So
yeah.
And,
And they made a point, like I mentioned earlier, they made a point to back out, and you can see the Enterprise D went tiny. And
as they're
Borg
flying in, Troy says, "Why am I sensing enjoyment?" And then you
Yeah.
see Data's face. Yes.
Yeah,
life force, pretty little life.
that's right.
Better than that.
So
Yeah.
we'll get to what they find and what that means in a bit. But first, let's head back to what's going on inside the Borg cube around the same time, because we have Picard finding Jack
And the
And-
Queen.
and the
They-
Queen.
It was nice of the Borg to let Jack keep his hair. There's not many Borg get that.
Yeah, look at Picard.
Also, he got one of those facial things that was very similar to Locutus, which was nice
Yes.
to have a family.
They didn't have to
trait.
dig out his eye. Yeah, you can have your dad's face piece.
It was the Picard crest that they put
Yeah.
on his face.
This implant belonged to your father. I want you to have it as well.
We did clean it first.
And we
I
get
don't
our
know
first.
about me, but the Queen was looking awfully rough.
Yeah.
Ribs and all. This is great.
Well, that's why the other Borg were dead, because she was using them to make her better.
Staying alive. Staying
That's why
alive.
those
Now they had enough energy to have a transwarp portal, hover over the gravity of Jupiter, but they couldn't go anywhere else to assimilate somebody to keep them alive.
Nom, 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 nom,
Plus
nom,
have a huge cube that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Yeah, lots of
That's the
questions.
stretch part. Yeah, that's
Lots of questions going on there. But Picard tries to give one to the Queen, and she says, I don't need you anyway. So not interested in you anymore. It's Jack I'm interested in.
Yep.
she's a cougar. I guess.
Yeah, and he's saying you wormed your way into his brain, and she said, "No, he came to me." I went, "Ooh, ow, burn, sting." That hurt.
Oh, and by the way, I didn't realize this until Terry Metalis said so on Twitter, but that the face that Vatic was talking to, that was actually the Borg Queen.
Well, I kind of figured that, even though if we go back and compare them, I'm not, well,
Mm,
I haven't done that yet. I'm not sure if they really look that much alike. And
No,
where did,
I don't
where
think
did
so.
that tech come from all of a sudden? So I think
it
that
was
was
like
kind
an
of like,
Instagram filter thing.
And it was a little convoluted to talk to the Borg Queen. That should have cut her hand off
This
and
one,
put it
Yeah.
in a bowl, water
It-
bowl.
it was like, one of those Zoom filters or Instagram things where this is what I really want to look like. This wavy, scary
I
looking
wish I had
face.
a Zoom filter. Yeah.
And then you
Also-
get the mouse ears and the pig nose.
why did she sound, normal at the end of episode 9, and then she sounds very filtered and very strange when we get her in episode 10?
Bad night's rest.
I guess so.
She sounds better on radio, I guess.
I see.
Right. You should
But
listen to her. You should
She
listen
had
to
a
her
voice for
podcast.
radio.
Yeah,
A
you should listen to her
Facebook radio.
podcast. There you go.
Okay, well, I'll subscribe right now.
She had a
It's
face.
the, it's the one that's green, right? That's the one I want to get to. All right. Picard realizes that there's only one way to go about this, and he plugs himself into the Matrix. The Borg
This is his synthetic body. How does that work? That's another thing that I just went, what? No, what?
Nanobots do what nanobots want. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have then just this conversation between Jack and Jean-Luc.
I did
And
like
Jean-
that conversation.
Jean-Luc is explaining how, he understands this feeling of loneliness. He often felt that way in, keeping people away, and he joined Starfleet to get a family, and he ended up getting one because of that, but there was still something missing, and he didn't realize what it was. And it was Jack to have, a family of his own.
Yeah.
And Jack says, I don't care that, I'm feeling like this is the place I want to be. This feels right. This is what I was born to do. And he says, well, then I'm just going to stay here with you until the end.
Yeah, he was willing to make that sacrifice, and I think that really pushed everything over the edge for Jack.
Kissamog and says, you changed my life forever.
I
was a
also
nice
like
moment.
the line
Nice
Jean-Luc said to the Queen that how he'd been haunted for like half his lifetime. That was a nice line, and he's that he's confronting it now. So that was a.
Yep.
He should have come back with, I told you the line must be drawn here.
Yeah. Over here. Here.
Or is it over there? Maybe it's
No.
back there.
Where the conduit is, where the transwarp
I don't
conduit.
know. You got a lot of hoses. Let's pick one of these.
Yeah.
You must go
Right.
forward, not backward, upward, not forward, and always twirling towards the future. Sorry, Futurama coming in now.
Then we find out that they get to the center where the transmitter is.
Oh, I thought
Yep.
that's where the delicious chocolatey center of the Tootsie.
Well, that is true. That is the nougaty center of it.
Yeah,
as
Nougaty
well.
Center.
But if they destroy that, then apparently the cube is just going to go boom.
So if you blow up the big energy thing in the middle of the thing, the whole thing's going to go. Okay, I'm with that.
Deanna knows you have 1 minute to escape.
Hey, where have I seen this
At best,
before?
yeah.
Where have I
I-
seen this before?
I don't know. At least nobody was like, Yahoo! When they were going
Yeah.
out of it or something.
And Data's in his chair going.
One quick thing I want to mention when we're talking about Jack and Jean-Luc, as they're
Yes.
going through that whole Borg consciousness thing, all those geometric forms reminded me of the motion picture, like when you're going
Yes.
through V'ger. That
Yes.
was a nice little homage.
Yeah.
The way you said that reminded me of John Mellencamp. Little ditty about Jack Jean-Luc. I'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll workshop it out of town.
Coming to a karaoke session near you soon.
Darn right. I got a few of them.
So it looks like they decide they have to blow up the transmitter, which
And
means
Beverly has to push the button. Oh, the torture.
right. Well, she said she agreed with Geordi, that there's really no way to get around this. They're gonna have to do it. So she tells, they're willing to beam Riker and Worf up, and Riker says, "No, I can't leave."
Yeah,
Jean-Luc.
what was that look on Deanna's face? Like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like,
Yeah,
oh, come on.
Gotta do anything with it, getting out of making another pizza. It's like,
Stupid Imzadi.
Would you two like
I
to be left alone? Oh wait, that was from.
I want to go to a beach, and he just wants to die. What is?
Yeah, right.
So they
Yeah.
destroy the
Well, that
beacon.
just saves some airfare.
They got a spaceship. They can go anywhere they want.
And of course, Data cannot locate anyone because the all this interference going on. He doesn't know
Dead zone.
what to do. And Deanna pulls another amazing Beta Z thing. She not only can feel where they are, she knows exactly where they are, coordinate wise.
That's the power of Riker's message. to her.
I know where they're at. They're on the.
Body
They're,
power. Yeah.
she goes. I know where I can find them. I know where they're at. They're on the Borg cube.
Yeah.
I should have taught you a different Betazoid
They're
word.
somewhere over there.
Okay. How are they breathing when they could see the Enterprise D? Could someone explain that to me? I'm really stumped.
It's like the force field thing.
Very carefully.
They were lowered. The force fields were shut off. Anyway, okay.
It takes
It was a good effect though.
It was a great visual. I really was.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, talking about when they look up and they can see the bottom of the ship.
Yeah.
And you get beamed up and zoom away, going woohoo!
and we have a classic line from the Borg Queen. No. Really? That's what you got? No.
That's what you got. Yeah. No.
And meanwhile, on board the Titan, the Borgified bridge crew has got to the bridge, and just as they're about to fire, that's
skin
when
clears
the
up.
Borg the Borg cube explodes, and it's broken, and everything just goes away magically.
Thank God.
And none of the pieces of the Borg cube fell into Jupiter. It has no gravity, apparently.
It is the lack of gravity of the
really heavy
situation.
thought there, Chuck. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I did like when they got back on the Enterprise and they sit down and Worf. He's like, I'm exhausted. Then he falls asleep and starts snoring.
Well, that brings up the next slide there, the epilogues. We're
Yeah.
gonna have
Hey,
Worf gonna sleep through these.
Yeah, that was funny. I was like, is somebody snoring? And then you look over him, he's like, yeah.
All right, so I want to point out for those people who are just listening, I have epilogues, and
There's
this is
100 of 'em.
slide one
Yeah.
of epilogues.
There's still like 20 minutes left in the show. We
Yeah.
know that we're going to get some epilogue.
Yeah.
So our first reveal is, okay, we now have Beverly's head of Starfleet Medical, and she's come up with a process that can essentially remove that embedded DNA.
Wait. You
It's
skipped
nice that you can
you
be
skipped
out of
Riker's voiceover.
and come back as an active admiral. Yeah, that's not.
Riker's voiceover, he said,
Yeah. He was doing the
Stardate-
captain's log.
shall we say 1? I went, wow, that's
No.
pretty bold to reset the clock.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna fly with the rest of Starfleet. Oh, really? You decided that's what we're gonna do? No, I don't think
You
so.
decided for everybody?
But so Beverly's method will not only do that, but she's developed a second method. So if something unusual is coming through the transporter, it can be caught.
Changelings.
And you're thinking, shouldn't the transporter have always done that?
Yeah.
Something weird coming through, you can kind of
Well,
notice
that's
that
what
it's
happened. That's how everybody got assimilated.
Wait, there's still more changelings? I thought they killed them all off earlier in the season. What?
Nope.
Nope.
Yeah,
And
as a matter of
next-
fact, that's how the transporters are supposed to work, because that's how everybody got assimilated to begin with.
But next we have the reveal that Tuvok is one of the people that was apparently they didn't kill anybody. They just kind of put them over to the side when they took over their they were impersonating all these Starfleet personnel. So Tuvok is back and fine. He's good. He's speaking with Seven of Nine, kind of talking about all the things that she did, which really were against the books. And she says, "That's fine. I'm going to resign." And Tuvok is like,
Let
"Well,
me stop you there, Tuvok.
I
yeah."
was
Well.
surprised. It felt like there was no friendship between them during that scene. It was, I realized it was formal and she thought she was getting kicked out of Starfleet, but there was still, it almost was like there was no recognition of each other.
Yeah, I got
thought
that a
they
little
should
bit
have had
too.
something there.
Well, as happy as I was to see Tuvok, I really wanted Janeway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Did she say no?
I don't know, but that's
She's already been in one Star Trek series recently.
So that's kind of, it's nice. It's nice to see Tuvok. I'm glad he's doing well, but I kind of wanted Janeway for this scene. But
yeah, that's right.
But she finds out that Shaw was thinking that, well, she doesn't play by the book and she's, argumentative and all this kind of stuff. But
Maybe she should be.
yeah, maybe she should. And I'm going to recommend her to be the captain of her own ship when we get back. And I guess I'm going to do that posthumously. So I didn't realize that ahead of time. Oh, well.
Good thing you recorded your employee performance evaluations.
Yeah.
Well, that's glad he was doing it. I think while they were on the run, that was nice of him to keep up with his work.
Yeah, it must have been. It must have been around the same time. That's right.
That's a dedicated manager. I'll tell you that.
That's why he was in his quarters.
He had his leg broken. He thought, what else am I going to do?
What's on my to-do list? Oh, Hanson's evaluation. Oh.
So epilogue number 3. We see on the screen stock footage. Therefore, the girl doesn't say anything. But here's Rafi is going to be reunited with her family.
It's a stock image.
Son.
Yeah, I thought that was a little.
That was the image that came with the pad
photo frame. Yeah.
Default.
I don't know whose kid this is, but she's cute.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little too quick to resolve, and then once again, 10 seconds later, they explain why. Her son is okay with her now.
Yeah.
Because apparently they didn't do any of that stuff the last time. It was actually all a conspiracy.
Oh,
somebody leaked the news, and she's all over the news as a hero. And the son goes, "Hey, I want to be. That's my mom."
So as we're talking about this episode, right at the end, that kind of skips ahead and it says 1 year later. Is that you got another slide for that?
There's plenty of epilogue here to go around.
So this says 1 year later. I was like, okay, and you see the Enterprise D and its place in the Fleet Museum. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then you see
not yet.
No, wait. There's plenty of epilogues for the slide one.
He's just Mr. Run Through.
I'm trying to ask if you had other slides. So
it's only at an hour and 33 minutes. Craig, slow down.
Yeah,
I assure you, we'll get there.
All right.
It's like Lord of the Rings. We have many to get through.
This is the extended version.
The extended version. Yeah,
because our next one, which I have the wrong image. I think I deleted the wrong image there. But we see Data being counseled by Counselor Troy.
Oh yeah.
Well, you had to figure out who, because they did this voice first before they cut the scene, and you weren't really sure who she's talking to. They're like, oh, she's counseling Data.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I thought that
I was a little surprised at her attitude in this.
The laissez-faire, like, are you done yet? I'm shopping.
Going through the vacation.
Yeah, she's like
TripAdvisor. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But they're already an hour past their.
Yeah, she's browsing through the Airbnb places on the different planets. Yeah.
And apparently she can share the information with her husband because he says, "Oh, is he still batting?"
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That wasn't very professional.
It wasn't indeed.
I think Jack was right. He having the Beta Z as the counselor brings in all kinds of questions about Starfleet.
Yeah, she did. Troy was just weird in so many ways in this thing. Those extra powers, how she just walked out on Jack, how she's sharing confidential client patient privilege things with her husband. It's kind of all weird in there for her.
There's no HIPAA in the future.
She's been out of practice for a while, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Epilogues, page 2.
Yeah.
Now, Craig, we're at that scene. If you'd like to talk about.
Thank you. All right.
You go.
I was trying to say, I thought it was funny. I thought this scene felt like it should have been cut into an earlier piece of the show because they're wearing the same clothes a year later than they were, when all this was going down.
It's uniforms.
It's the same exact clothes.
It's
yeah. No,
that's why they're called uniform, Craig. They're all the same.
Yeah, I don't know.
This should have been the last scene. That would have been as they walked out into the turbo lift. That would have been.
I agree.
Yeah. Right.
Oh no, but we have many more epilogues to get.
I know. It keeps going, but I'm just saying, right there, I would have been okay. I could have walked away at that point, and
then when you hear Majel's voice say "shutdown sequence commencing," like I said the same thing. He's like, "Wow, I'm going to miss that. And then Rager
Yeah.
says, I miss that voice.
That's right.
Now we
And
come
he
to the
probably
next.
he probably meant it as well of missing her as well. So
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what that was a shot.
Although
right
he's
there.
not hearing it on the set, so he has to know that in his head
Yeah.
that that's what he's hearing. Then we come to the thing I have the hugest problem with in this entire thing.
Jack
Yeah.
going through Academy in a year?
All right, no, not even that, not even that, not even what I'm showing on screen for this part. What I have a problem with is you have a father and son who have essentially decimated the fleet twice.
Yep.
You're going to put him on a ship, and he's still going to be in Starfleet. Really? That's how that's going to go down?
You know what? That could be a play if they do Star Trek Legacy and continue the story.
Oh,
That
no.
could be a play on that. People be like, "Why in the hell would you give him access to?"
And if there was a reason, it better be a damn good one, because I'm thinking, no way in that's going to happen.
Right.
Who was authorizing that? Who was fast tracking him through Starfleet and saying, Jean-Luc, bygones be guy.
It's one of those.
It was nepotism. No.
Yeah, it's one of those admirals that had the worm in it. You know,
Maybe it's one of the changelings that's still hanging around.
I was really hoping that they were going to reveal the name of the ship was the USS Picard.
That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I thought it was going to be.
Oh, hoping for that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
I could see why they went the direction they did, but I was hoping
Can
for
someone
that.
explain to me? Shelby was coming out of space dock with what appeared to be the brand new Enterprise F.
Well, my
So
understanding
1 year
was,
later, how are we replacing that ship already?
but my understanding was from something. I can't know if I was reading it as somebody's explanation or if it was kind of
Wishful
Texas
thinking.
the background,
Yeah.
that it was there ceremoniously that it was being retired.
Oh, okay. Now I would have thought that would have been the ship they should have exploded and not the Excelsior. That would have been more impactful to me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have
They-
made
they
the
chose-
G
they
a
chose the
more
probably
sensible
oldest
name.
ship
Yeah.
in the fleet, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I was like, why would they even bother renaming the Titan?
Especially since it's already the Titan A. It's like, okay, you've already got an extension. Now we're going to make a different extension, a different number. And
It's already.
We're-
This is the third remodel of that ship already. It's like it's like Theseus. It won't die.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
The
That's the
workers
hill in the hotel. They're always
down,
down.
they're back up again. What?
yeah. Let's cleanse the lineage of this ship named Titan. We'll get it out of here. Yeah, I was just like, I don't know. I would have rather it been called the Picard or something, or USS Picard or something.
So we get on board Jack gets on board the ship and he starts barking out all these orders.
yeah, it's like, okay, this is really going a bit far.
Bring
here.
me my coffee.
And I immediately looked at his collar going, 1 pip, dude. 1 pip.
Sure, it wasn't corn. Sorry.
Yeah, that's right. Stay
I
in your
think it
lane.
was. I think it was just corn.
Stay in your lane, Jack. Yeah, that's right.
We
That
find
is-
out.
hey, by the way, I've said it before. That is a
Mhm.
beautiful looking ship, though.
Well, we talked about this. I think I forget I was talking about this with someone offline. I don't know if it was you, Craig, about the fact that this is why they spent all the time on this model and not on doing anything super special to the other Enterprise.
Oh yeah, right.
Everything was kind of poured into this because this is the one that's supposed to survive and possibly be a spinoff.
it's the hero ship. That's right. So, and actually, I like the lineup that if they stick with Legacy.
So who is the lineup? What do we have here, Craig?
A thief, a pirate, and a spy.
That's right. Rafi, Seven, and Jack on the bridge.
And
and of
Jack
course-
is the special advisor to the captain, right?
Yeah, he's a
And then
counselor.
Seven's
He's a
put on the
counselor.
spot.
Yeah.
He's like,
And as backdoor pilots go, it wasn't that painful.
No.
It merged in pretty well. So
Mhm. And you got a lot of the bridge crew that we've seen already on Titan.
we're
They
all
just
waiting
got-
with bated breath to find out what Seven's signature phrase is.
and
and we
you'll
don't
keep
get
on
it.
waiting.
I was
Yeah.
so bummed.
hey, could they keep it as a running gag for the whole show?
Ooh,
Yeah.
that would be
No,
fun.
Like
Oh,
Norm?
let's start that with Craig now, too. Here with his signature catchphrase is Craig Step. Thanks, Craig.
So anyway, yeah.
As soon as I take a breath and start to excel, you cut. Yeah, that's right.
All right, on to our next epilogue, though. We don't have time for this. Another epilogue.
Oh,
Because now they're all in the bar. The entire, original
10
crew.
forward. Yeah.
And they're in 10. We don't see Guinan, although we make reference to Guinan.
I know. I was expecting the camera to turn around and she'd be like,
gonna boot us out of
I'm
here or
upset
something.
they didn't end up in 10 forward on the Enterprise. But anyway, okay.
Mm.
yeah, that's
What a
true.
shame.
And they decide, let's play some poker.
Well, did you catch Worf's reference to Magatu meditation?
Yes, I did. That's
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to know more about that.
we've
no.
seen Lower Decks. We're not sure we want to know what's going
Yeah.
on there.
Well, you
Oh,
gotta
no.
start off with a horn.
Let's do one more toast. Data, how about
Yeah.
you?
So Chuck
There
just
once
wants
was a
to
woman from Data.
Chuck wants to watch the Magatu. That's all.
No, let's not do that.
I'm assuming the quote was Shakespeare. I didn't have a chance to look it up.
I'm waiting for someone to look that up, but it definitely felt literature based.
Yep. Yeah, I believe it was. Yeah.
And that's appropriate. We didn't get to see the big book this time around, but it was still nice to include that. So.
And then he whips out these cards, very un-Jean-Luc like. It was like, who's up for some cards?
Well, his life's
Well-
been changed, right?
Well, that was at the end of the
And
Yeah.
they all go in.
series.
They
He
all
wanted,
go-
he missed. He said he should have played more with him.
But apparently, you get motion sick watching people play poker because this spinning around thing that just kept going
Yeah.
and going and
I did like
going.
seeing them all laughing.
I like that it wasn't a freeze frame or they went to black. I kind of liked seeing them for just a second or two.
A
Yeah, they're all-
second would be fine, but this
Oh,
was not a
right.
second.
And,
Yeah,
and
they're
the
all-
interplay between them, Worf going, I fold, okay?
Yeah. Bam. Yeah. And it was fun seeing them laughing and having a good time with each other.
And we see them at conventions in real life, and they are like that. They're
Yeah.
always having a ball together. So I mean, it's nice. Yeah.
And then we
Man,
say, okay, it's
card
all
game.
over, and
Nope.
the blah, 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 and then
Here comes the
epilogues
hook.
3.
What
As,
the heck?
Q. What?
Q shows up.
Did we
I
not
like
just
how his
see him?
outfit still resembles that court outfit from from the first episode.
Similar. There was a
Right.
callback.
Yeah,
there.
it has that little star thing. And
I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
So my friend Brian, who I went to high school with, he was a big TNG fan back when TNG was a thing, and so he texted me today. And he goes, "Guess what? I just finished season 2 of Picard." I was like, "Oh, okay." He says, "I really like seeing Q around. I wish I could see him more." And I'm just like, "There he was on my screen just like 2 seconds ago."
You didn't tell him that, I hope, though.
No, I did send him a picture of Q.
Don't.
Yeah. I sent him that picture. It's about
Well,
an
that's
hour
okay
ago.
because he probably would have fallen asleep before you get to that epilogue anyway. So
If
it's
they
okay.
do a spin-off, I have a great way they can continue Q's character without involving John Delancey.
De-age him. Yeah.
Donna
Corbin
and I have been
Burnson?
watching. There's
Have Corbin Burnson show up?
no.
Oh.
There's an actor by the name of Kirk B.R. Waller. I found him on the series The Chosen on Amazon
Wait a
Prime.
minute. Are you in charge of casting now?
I'm going to recommend this to
He's
Mr.
pitching. He's
Dallas.
pitching.
I'm pitching. He plays Gaius, who's like the Roman governor of the area.
What'd you say his name was again?
Kirk
Oh,
B.R.
Yeah.
Waller. He sounds just like John Delancey. His character in this show even has that playful but dangerous quirkiness to him. Like, wow, he could so do. He doesn't look like him. I mean, he's a bald character in this show, which kind of would, maybe he could say I was inspired.
I don't think
by
he's got a
John
lot
Luke."
of hair to begin with. I'm looking at
No,
it.
but just an amazing voice that sounds so much. I close my eyes and I'm like, wow, that could be John Delancey on the screen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we're done pitching. It's time to start voting.
Oh, what are we voting on? There were so many things to vote with.
What would you like the scale to be?
Cubes?
Enterprises.
Enterprises, sure, because we got plenty of them.
Hey, and I
DFZ.
know Clinton and I were having this discussion earlier, but I thought it was
Deacons.
appropriate that if 7 is captaining a ship, it's the 7th letter in the alphabet, G.
Mind blown.
But she's not captaining that
But-
ship. Oh, wait,
But
yes,
you
she
don't.
is.
But you don't. Do you count the Enterprise, or just start with?
Oh, that would be
PVC?
7. No, 6.
be
Then,
eight.
it'd be 8.
It'd be 8
Right.
Yeah.
But if you just count the ones with the extension,
letters.
it's 7.
Well, 7 of not the other 8 fits in there.
But I was thinking that they're racing very fast towards J. But you can make the argument that, well, that's an alternate timeline that we see on Enterprise.
Oh
and
yeah,
that
that's
J
stretched out
probably
looking
doesn't
pancake ship.
necessarily have to exist.
Yeah.
I thought it did exist.
Did it?
Mhm.
400 years in
Yeah,
the future.
yeah, it's in the future, but it wasn't the alternate timeline. He was showing what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, that big pancake ship.
But I thought it was all
Yeah.
part of with temporal war, so I'm getting lost. But I thought it was something that would happen, but somehow the events that are taking place in Enterprise are going to negate that future. But
I think they're rushing the future because they're going through ships like water.
Yeah.
Where's
Right.
the HIJK? Oh, we're already there.
right in Enterprise alone, you went D, E, F, and G.
Let's not go too much into the future. I don't want temporal investigations in this.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
Yeah,
Okay,
fair
well, so-
point. Fair point.
We are doing it based on Enterprises. So, Craig, let's see. We're going to start with you. Go the other way around.
I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, so I'm gonna only because I think they wrapped it up pretty well. Probably not as good as All Good Things, but I thought it was well done. So, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, if Terry Metallis's TNG fandom is ever in question, watch this because he involves everything that you could think of. So I'm gonna give this one an 8.5 Enterprises.
Okay. I'm tempted to do the same. I feel pretty much the same way I felt about the last episode. I thought there was a lot of nostalgia
Mm-hmm.
in some of the right places. Felt like it kind of got stretched during the 12 epilogues. And then there were some plot holes that made things difficult as well. But overall, I would say 8.5 for it.
Yeah. Okay.
Chuck.
I'm going with an 8.5 as well. Similar. The plot holes, I know I picked on a lot of things, but it did have some nice humor, some tender, warm moments, some great lighting, some wonderful callbacks. There was a
Banter.
lot of
Some good
stuff
banter.
in there.
Jupiter. Yeah.
Jupiter.
Swords
Don't get
of
us started.
fun.
Don't get Chuck started on Jupiter, please. Don't.
Yeah. So yeah, but there were a few dings in it that could have been a 9, could have been a 9.5, maybe even a 10 if everything had lined up and we'd scrubbed the script a couple more times. But 8.5.
Okay. And what about you, Gary?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but as I think about it, I'm going with an even flat 8 Enterprises.
Oh,
There were a lot of plot holes. I mean, I appreciate all their ideas, but all these epilogues were a little bit over too much.
Yep.
And quite frankly, the Q appearance, while nice, and I love John Delancey dearly, felt like a little bit of a cop out when they killed him off so well last season. I don't think the new series.
There you go, thinking linearly again.
yeah.
I don't think they need Q to start off with.
Right. Yeah. Yep, that's a fair point.
So
Yeah, I kind of thought the same thing. I was kind of half, oh, cool, Q. Half of me was like,
that's
ah,
too much
really?
to me at the moment. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I can understand the epilogues were ending not just a series, but a whole generation. You know, that's significant. I'll grant them a little extra leeway on that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All
But a
right.
couple of those were just series based because, you have the stuff with Jack and Seven and Rafi, and Rafi's separate story. So you're trying to wrap up everything.
Yep.
There was a point when right at the beginning, at the end of this and at the end of the episode, I went, is this going to be like Marvel? Should I be sitting here watching all the credits? All of a sudden, I was like, yeah, maybe I should be, because they showed like 30 minutes of extra stuff.
A lot of the main characters though were like guest appearances. Marina Sirtis and Gates McFadden. I went,
Everyone
what?
except for Patrick Stewart were special guests.
yeah,
I think
thought
that has
was-
to do with billing and agents in Hollywood. So
Yep.
It's some sort of
Probably.
shag rule. That's what I was wondering.
All right. So Clinton, I asked you earlier, probably prematurely, of course, what you thought as a series as a whole.
So all 3 seasons together.
No, let's
Oh,
say let's go with now season 3.
Oh, just
All good.
season 3. Just season 3. I still feel the same way I felt before, that it was a story that didn't need to be 10 episodes long, that there were points where it really dragged.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I think if it had been tightened up an awful lot, and there are plot holes that maybe could be fixed in the concept and maybe couldn't be fixed in the concept. But I felt like if this had been a 7 episode series, it would have been so much better. So I liked it, but there were times it wasn't as bad as season 1 and season 2 with stretch. But it just, and it did have a beginning, middle, and end, and I'll give it that. But I just felt it was too long.
It was a little long, and then when we discussed about the stretches as we were watching the episodes, but setting that aside, looking at all the plot points and how they brought everybody together, including the ship, I thought they did a great job organically bringing all that stuff together.
Yeah, there's a part of me that felt like when they get to the Enterprise D, there's a part of me that said, this is suddenly a fanzine. I don't know. There was just some aspect of that just was like,
well, wasn't this whole season that really? I mean, to a large extent, this was a fan service season. Where when they went into this series, Patrick Stewart sort of said he didn't want to make this kind of show.
Right.
And we saw that in especially the first season of Picard. It was very not TNG, and the second one didn't have a lot of that. But this one was all fan service, and I guess everybody sort of bought into it after a while.
I did.
This is their last chance to do it.
No, I thought I actually thought it was pretty great considering. Like I said, I like how everything came together organically. Why the characters were there, why the Enterprise was there, even how Data came together, and he became more human than he ever has.
Right.
Characterization worked. The weak part of this was the changeling sort of side angle to working with the Borg. They didn't sell it well enough for me.
Right.
Yeah, because their whole function was essentially to get Picard's body, and because it seemed like, well, Jack was going to go where he was going regardless. It seemed like the Queen wasn't worried that he wasn't going to show up exactly on time.
Right.
Which is kind of weird that, well, why are you rushing to get him there? Because you didn't seem to be that worried that, oh, look, he's showing up just as the fleet is forming together.
Wow. Yeah. Valencia Burns called us out, it looks like. It says it's 4:20 and y'all have lost it. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me. All right. Any more thoughts?
Yeah,
yes,
I wish Wesley would have showed up at least for 10 minutes.
Yeah. And no Barkley.
There was enough epilogues. Like Wesley couldn't. They just, what's the big deal?
Leah Brahms and Reg and
where's Barkley?
Sure would have came in for section 30, section 31 for a second or so.
And red shirt number 3.
Surely Nilix is around. They could have brought him in.
Well, at least we didn't get Tuvix, so we have to take the blessings.
We do. You get count them when you got them. So
and Cass and
yeah, I was kidding. I thought Tuvix was going to be the villain.
All right. Well, we should think about wrapping up. We've had some people who've been watching, I think, this entire time, and thank you so much, because as predicted, this was going to be a very long episode, and I apologize to anybody I tried to rush at certain points, because I knew
we know how you are.
Go on forever.
We know how you are, Clinton.
Yeah, but we could have done like a 6-hour show on this, but we're trying to wrap things up now. So we're going to refill the dilithium chamber and try to warp on out of here until our next episode with a subject matter we're still working on. So come back in 2 weeks and we'll see what we got for you. Who speaks for you guys as far as where they can find Chuck and Craig?
You didn't tell where they can find you.
I'll save it for last.
Oh, another epilogue.
Ah,
Well, you can find Chuck and I at the Technorama Podcast. And just search for Technorama Podcast in Google, and you'll find us. Or even in any of the podcast listener clients that you have, you just search for Technorama Podcast, and you'll find us.
Okay. Gary, do you have anything you're currently working
No,
on? that you wanna share?
I'm currently unaffiliated, but I do get mentioned every week on the Technorama podcast. So I guess
Yeah,
I could count there. But thank you for having me this evening. It's always a fun talking about Trek with you guys.
Well, thank you for being here. And you can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4.com. Going to be releasing some kind of just one-on-one episodes coming up because I'm still working on the big story that will be released sometime soon. Insert date here. We will see lots of work coming in from my voice actors, lots of work to do on that yet. But
we'll superimpose May 11th.
What's their birthday right here?
Oh, no April this year? Okay.
Yeah, if it's April, I'm in real trouble because we're
April's all summer for Clinton.
Just like last year. Okay, time to hit the theme, boys.
this one.
If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Twitter at The Topic is Trek, visit our Facebook page, or visit thetopicistrek.com. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Craig, Gary, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't put on the red shirt. Wait, Q had on a red shirt.
Oh, well, he's okay.
But he's
though.
dead.
Epilogue.
Yeah.
All right. Woo, my goodness.
Thanks for being on here, Gary.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing me on the short show, guys.
The short show.
It's like the short bus.
Yeah.
Like crap, it's 11:30 already.
All right. Well, we're gonna log off here. So thank you everybody for watching, and we will catch you on the next one.
I am not around in 2 weeks. I've got a day trip to
What?
California.
We will arrange that, and so Chuck is proving me to be a liar, telling what they told you. So we'll let you know when we're going to be on next time.
Okay.
Bye bye.
It's also Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
That's right. Wait, what? That's the wrong franchise.